Episode 96 of the podcast. This week I'm going to add some tech talk, some training tech, to the things that we tend to do in the salon, ways that we handle dogs, and how that plays out when we're looking at it through technical talk for dog training. You're listening to the Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast. I'm Chrissy Newmeyer-Smith. I'm a certified professional groomer, a certified behavior consultant for canines, a certified professional dog trainer, and the owner of Happy Critters in Nashua, New Hampshire. And this, my friends and colleagues, is the podcast where grooming and training meet. Today I want to give some examples of how training works and putting it within the framework of some of our training tech talk, because I think that'll help us understand what's going on. And I think it's helpful for groomers to learn some of the tech talk so that we're not easily taken advantage of by people who don't know their tech talk. So I'm going to give a couple of examples here. First of all, so classical conditioning. Classical conditioning is when we pair two things that are kind of unrelated. Let me give you an example with Pavlov. Do you remember Pavlov's dogs? It was classical conditioning that the bell rang before food. And then they started salivating when the bell rang before food was presented, because it was classically conditioned that that sound means something. That sound means food's coming, right? So how do we use classical conditioning in our grooming setting? Well, we use it a lot, whether we mean to or not. And that's part of why understanding behavior is important. One of the ways that we can use it are things like happy visits. You think about like that first puppy visit where we're not even worried about what gets done as much as we're worried about getting them exposed to stuff, having a good time, giving them some snuggles, hopefully getting like a nail trim and a bath or a brush out, whatever it is, done without any worries. We're just making it all pretty pleasant, which I'd like to see us do with more adult dogs too. But it could also be a happy visit, like bring them on in. We'll just walk them through the shop, give them some cookies, maybe put them on a scale, put them in a tub. The veterinary hospital I used to work at, we used to bring them in, have them go on the scale, get a weight, especially after a spay or neuter, instead of waiting 6 months before the next visit. 6 months is a long time, right? Come on in, get some love, get some cookies, and go home again. That's classical conditioning. That's adding something pleasant to a situation. It has nothing to do with the dog's behavior. Classical conditioning doesn't have much to do with the dog's behavior. It's more about setting the tone, setting the mood, trying to pair things together. Now, here's where classical conditioning sometimes fails us as groomers. All right. So the dog that as soon as you turn on the dryer starts freaking out about don't put it near my head has been classically conditioned to think dryers are unpleasant on heads. Oh, Chrissy, I don't know. I think you lost me. I'm probably lost somebody there. But the dryer doesn't create a problem on their head until the dryer's on their head. If they're already flicking their head around, it could be the sound, or it could be that has been paired with someone's now going to put this thing up against my head and swishy, 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 swishy. I hate swishy, swishy, swishy. And swishy, swishy, swishy next to my ear. And the dog is already thinking about the panic that happens when it gets close to the ear and the argument that we have, even though we're not usually vocally arguing, we're physically arguing, we're wrestling, that has created classical conditioning to really dislike the dryer. As soon as the dryer turns on, they're thinking, I've got to get my head away from this person with the dryer. Right? We've seen that before. That's not every dog, but we've seen that before. Especially if you've been grooming for a couple years or more, I'm sure you can think of at least one dog that as soon as you get them on the table is like, you touch a foot and they're like, no, don't do my nails. That's because they've classically conditioned to believe nail trims are unpleasant. Even if you're holding a brush, you're like, I'm not doing your nails, dude, I'm doing the brushing. That dog is convinced. That dog is convinced that touching their foot is going to be the nail trim, So classical conditioning is happening. It's happening whether we want it or not. They're pairing what's happening around them with the place that they're in, or the people that they're around, or the tool that we hold. So when we want to use pleasant consequences, we want to think about making a pleasant association with something else. So classical conditioning is happening all the time. If we add cookies to nail trimming and they're licking at something, maybe it's like licking peanut butter while we trim nails, we're using classical conditioning to help them think licking peanut butter while having my nails trimmed is fun. So therefore having my nails trimmed tastes like peanut butter. Right? This is some really basic stuff. I know there are a lot more nuances, but I'm going to give you some more examples. Here is another example. When a dog is being really, really good, I'll give him a break. When a dog is a little bit nervous and I decide, all right, I'm just going to break this down into smaller steps. I'm going to touch you with the clipper. I'm going to hold your leg up. I'm going to hold your leg up and touch you with the clipper and stop without trying to get it done, without running the clipper all the way down the leg, to just stop there while the dog is calm. That's giving a break to reward calm. Because what does a dog who is having trouble want? What is the biggest thing they want in that moment? In that moment that they're having a problem, that they're having an issue, that they're having difficulty, that moment, what they want is for us to stop. It's the most powerful reward we could give at that moment. So if we use it to our advantage, while they're being calm, we back off. We're now building calmness. Ooh, interesting, right? We can use that to our advantage. We can reward calmness with the awesome, awesome reward of backing off. It doesn't mean, okay, maybe we'll get his legs done next time. No, it means backing off a little bit. Maybe that's putting the foot down and starting on another area and going back to it. Maybe that's simply removing the tool and placing it back on, and removing the tool and replacing it back on. But we can use that as a very powerful reward. Now, if the behavior gets better, if the behavior improves, if that calmness continues or improves, then we know we have reinforced calmness. Ooh, that's kind of neat, isn't it? We can reinforce calmness by giving them a break. In trainer tech talk, that is negative reinforcement, removing of something to increase a behavior. Now, we have mentioned before, but I'm going to go through it again. If the behavior does not maintain or increase the behavior of calm that we're trying to reward, then we didn't get our message across. It is not reinforcement. Right? Reinforcement is actually the measure of behavior change. Did the behavior remain the same or increase? Then we know it was reinforced. Otherwise, we're just doing stuff and it's not making a difference. That's an important distinction. So I am going to give you another example. This one's a punishment example. If you are holding a dog and they're getting wiggly under your hand and you give them a stern no, what you are trying to do is you're trying to get them to stop doing something. You're trying to lessen a behavior. You're trying to decrease a behavior. If the behavior does not decrease, if that behavior is the same and you're continuing to go, no, 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 stop it, you are not decreasing the behavior. If you're not seeing a decrease, then the behavior is not decreasing. If the behavior is not lessened, if the behavior is not less intense than it was a minute ago, you're not adding a punishment, because punishment is when behavior decreases. Now, reinforcement is when it stays the same or increases, because stays the same means it's reinforced, right? Increases is great too, but stays the same or increases is reinforced. To be a punishment, it has to decrease the behavior. It has to lessen it to be a punishment. So one of the things I see pretty often is that people who don't know that terminology think that they are punishing a behavior when what they are doing is expressing they are not pleased. And to some dogs, that will decrease the behavior they're doing. That's very individual. But for some dogs, it will decrease that behavior. Some dogs will just suddenly, calm down a little bit because it's what's familiar at home, right? Other dogs won't. Other dogs, you will be yelling no all day. I used to groom at a table next to somebody who did it all day, and it almost drove me crazy. So If it's not making the effect that you want, if you are not seeing behavior change, it's time to pick a new tactic for that dog in that situation at that moment. That's why knowing the training is important. That's why knowing what behavior terms mean is really to your advantage. For you to say, wait a minute, no, I thought I was punishing this dog, but this dog's behavior is staying the same. I guess I wasn't punishing this dog. What was I doing then? If the behavior is staying the same, oh, wait a minute, we covered it a minute ago. If the behavior is staying the same, it was reinforcing. Even though you aren't pleased. You know what? There are some dogs that will argue with you because arguing is fun, right? They're going to get into it with you. They don't care if you're pleased or not. Just like most dogs don't care if we're happy. A lot of dogs don't care if we're happy or we're displeased. They're like, just get it done, lady. Let go of my foot, guy. I just don't care anymore. I don't care about my groomer's feelings. And I think we need to look at it more scientifically and say, is the behavior decreasing? Is the behavior increasing? Is the behavior staying the same? In the next part, we're going to talk a little bit more about why I like to build new behaviors and increase behaviors versus trying to decrease behaviors, because that's important for us to know too. If you're enjoying this podcast, please remember to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes, and tell all of your friends. I like to build a new behavior or increase a behavior I want versus trying to decrease a behavior I don't want. Now, if you look at that almost like a seesaw, right? Like if you increase one side, the other side decreases. I mean, you're still decreasing the behavior you don't want. It's about the mindset that we bring to the game. It's about the training techniques that we're going to employ. So when I talk about increasing a behavior or maintaining a behavior, it means now I have to find the thing that the dog is offering that I like and meet them where they're at. And part of why I talk about calm, comfortable, and cooperative is because it's the opposite of uncomfortable, discomfort, discomfortable. Anyway, it's the opposite of discomfort and frustration and fear. And I think that it's easier for us to recognize, is this dog calm, comfortable, and cooperative or not? Versus, well, he's panting, but is it a lot of panting? Or he's giving me an eye, but that could be some other thing. I think it's easier for most of us to look and say, is he calm, comfortable, and cooperative or not? And how can we build on comfortable? So when we reinforcement is going to be about increasing or maintaining a behavior that we like. And usually it involves pleasant. So that could be adding cookies. That could be petting. That could be just simply saying, oh, nice job. It depends on the dog. I tend to be very talky with the dogs. I know that. But only if I'm seeing the behavior changing or staying the same the way that I want to. In my mind, I'm counting repetitions, I'm counting duration, I'm seeing how long something took, how many times I had to do it before I could do the full-blown dryer on the ear, whatever the thing is, I have it in my mind and I'm doing lots of counting. And I know we aren't all wired that way. But if we start looking for, is this improving or is the behavior falling apart? Right? Is this dog offering something new that we also don't like? Because that will happen. Think about the dog that, you get the dryer near their head and now suddenly their paw's coming up to push the dryer away, Like there are lots of behaviors they can throw at us. Some of those behaviors are things we're not going to like just as much as the first one. So I like to build the behaviors I do like. And that will naturally decrease the behaviors I don't want. But let me give you an example of building the behavior that I do want. That could be just simply telling a dog, nice job. Little pet on the shoulder and continue. Nice job. I tend to use nice instead of good dog and I know I talked about it on a previous episode, but I don't use no and I don't use good. Owners use them at home and often mean 1,000 different things. So I would rather pick a word. I'd rather call it pickle and aardvark than have the dog have this set idea in their head that no means run off or good means we're done, which are really the most common messages that most dogs are getting at home. If an owner tells them no and the dog runs off, the dog's fine. But there's no place to run to. So if they're on our table and we're telling them no, they are literally looking around like, I would like to run off too. And that's what you're telling me to do. And I can't. And now I'm frustrated. So it really depends on what owners are teaching at home. When owners tell us something like, oh, he's really good for his feet, you just have to tell him no, that means he's not good for his feet. Right? If you have to tell him no, you know what? The dog who's really good doesn't need to be told no. So we're already getting this idea that owners sit down with their dogs and tell them no, an awful lot. So we avoid some of that verbiage because who knows which way they were trained at home. But we can build behaviors that we do want. And like I said, I tend to not use good. I think we all do it. It's part of the English language. We can't help ourselves. But only in the sense that for a lot of dogs, they're like, good, now we're done. If you say good after trimming one paw's toenails, that dog's like, I'm out of here. Thanks. Bye-bye. See you at the door. Right? Like, it's not helpful. But if I calm them down, I'm like, nice. As long as the owners don't start learning my lingo, I can use nice pretty easily. So I can build a behavior if I want to in a number of ways. You can use treats, but really, a lot of dogs won't take them. A lot of dogs are already at the grooming shop. They're like, this is not a treat place. I'm a little apprehensive. This is not sit down and have cookies time for me. But that most powerful reward we have is giving them a break. Now, negative reinforcement is giving a break. We're increasing a behavior or maintaining a good behavior by giving them a break, removing something. That's the negative part. Positive and negative in dog training terms are adding and subtracting. Adding is positive reinforcement. We're adding cookies. Negative reinforcement is removing something, like removing the clippers or removing the dryer sound, right? That's removing something to increase behavior. Positive punishment is adding something they don't like. So that could be a no. That could be back in the day when people were using squirt bottles to squirt at dogs, which, by the way, how about I mention that here? As a groomer who likes to use squirt bottles for things like coat conditioner, let's make sure our owners aren't using squirt bottles as he knows if I pull out the squirt bottle, he better run away and not do that. Because I hear that a lot. And then the dog has a meltdown when you're trying to mist on a coat conditioner. Like, oh no, I had a customer cry. Oh my God, she started crying. What did he do wrong? Why are you spraying him? Oh, Jeannie. He didn't do anything wrong. What are you guys doing with sprayers at home? Many owners still do it. They pick up a spray bottle. You better stop. And they pick up a spray bottle, right? What they're trying to do is add something unpleasant to decrease a behavior. So adding something unpleasant to decrease a behavior is positive punishment. Now, negative punishment. Let me give you an idea of what negative punishment could be in a grooming setting. Let's come up with a good grooming setting example. Negative punishment could be the dog sees, you show him like, hey, there's some cookies. There are some cookies over here. And I'm going to do one nail and give you a cookie. Do another nail, give you a cookie. Do a third nail. Oh, you are not being good for the nail. Those cookies go away. Removing something to decrease the behavior that they just did. Removing something. I'm not so keen on punishment because it implies unpleasant. That's part of it. It's not all about granola crunchy, wishy-washy, hippie, Chrissy stuff. I know sometimes it comes off as super lovey-dovey, but when we think about the problem the dog is having is that what we're doing is uncomfortable or frustrating or scary, then I don't want to add unpleasant to a scenario that they're responding to because it's frustrating, unpleasant, or scary. Do you see where I'm coming from there? I don't want to add more unpleasant to something they're responding to that's already unpleasant. I'd rather build on some pleasantness to help them bridge the gap between what they thought was really scary and what the reality is, which is, you may never like this, but you can trust me, you can trust us, everything is going to be fine. And that's why calm, comfortable, and cooperative is the way I usually frame it out, for us to be like, is he calm or not? Is he comfortable or not? And comfort could be comfortable with our tools, emotional comfort, if you will, or it could be comfortable with just standing with their body, comfortable with the amount of noise, comfortable with the amount of brushing, comfortable because their skin is comfortable, the mat on the table, things like that. So comfort, we can say yes or no. Is this dog comfortable or not? Yes or no. Can we improve this dog's level of comfort? Yes or no. And in many, many cases, we can improve their level of comfort. Can we improve their level of calm? Yes or no. I would like to improve their level of calm. And if they have any little bit of calm, I want to build on it, right? And that would be reinforcement. That's the reinforcement mindset, right? How can I take that little bit of calm you just showed me and reward it and build on it and help you encourage it? Put some water on that little seedling and watch it grow. So I'm always thinking about calm and comfortable and cooperative. So cooperative, another one. Are they cooperating or not? Right? Did the dog pick his foot up for you or not? Because I think sometimes we're only looking at the things that they're having trouble with. To give you an example, I was watching a student having a hard time with a dog who was, being really, really wiggly for a particular thing. And I'm like, but you've been with that dog for half an hour and all the other stuff this dog was really good for, right? This isn't a bad dog. Like, I want you to think about, like, there was some nugget of something. This dog was able to handle so much until we got to this particular process, this particular tool, this particular item, this particular thing. It could be a sound, whatever that distraction difficulty level is. That's when this dog started having a problem. We have so much to work with if the dog isn't like that coming through the door, right? If this dog is fine for so many other things and like half an hour in is having a problem, gosh, we've got a lot that we can build on. So it's the building mindset. It's a reinforcement mindset, not because reinforcement is the only way to teach a dog and not because they live in a life without consequences, but because what they're responding to in a grooming setting is usually discomfort, fear, frustration, things that are really foreign to them. A lot of dogs do not get touched by their owners in the way that we touch them. They don't get picked up. A lot of dogs are never on a raised surface like our tables unless they are in the grooming shop with us. So think about how many times they come in for grooming before they start being comfortable with that, right? So some of these things are owner responsibilities that we can kind of guide them through. If owners don't know how to do it, that's our job to help them find the information they need. So when we talk about training terms, that's why it's really important to understand, like, is it working or not? Is it working or not? Did yelling no effectively make this dog stand still? And in some cases it does. Some cases they're like, oh, this is not happy jolly time. Okay. You're talking like someone in my family that I know. For some dogs it will. For other dogs it won't. And that's why you have to be able to read the room, right? Take a look and say, you know what? Is this helping this situation right now? Now, I'm going to add one more thing to that no part, because I know it is so common for us. And every time no slips off my tongue, my husband's right there to say, I thought we don't use no, because it's so common. If you are in the habit of telling a dog no, right? It's such a common habit, right? If that's your habit, if this dog, is doing all right and you pick up a foot and they start wiggling and you're like, no, if that's your go-to, what I would like you to do is to build on it by adding 3 different nice dog for every no that you say. To give you an example of that, so you go to pick up a back foot, the dog starts to wiggle and you find yourself saying nope, right? Now, if the dog is good and calms down in your hand, if that actually helped, I want you to also build on the good stuff. Like, hey, nice. Maybe trim a nail or scissor that foot, put it down, pick up another one. Nice. Pick up another foot. Nice. Add more. Nice. And a couple little pets, things like that for every no that sputters out of your mouth by accident. Because we can use a lot of these methods at the same time, right? There's nothing saying you have to use just positive punishment or just positive reinforcement or just classical conditioning, right? There's nothing saying you have to use just one thing at a time. You can use lots of different things at the same time. So I want you to be thinking about building the behaviors that you like, because I just feel really strongly, and in my experience, it seems to be the case, that the problems dogs have during grooming are fear, frustration, and discomfort. And I don't want to add unpleasantness to that, right? It's already unpleasant, right? I would rather try to make it as pleasant as possible. And from a scientific point of view, if we are watching behavior change, then building a behavior we do want will reduce the behavior we don't want. But trying to tear away and end a behavior we don't want could crop up with new behaviors we don't want. So there are lots of ways a dog can be making your job difficult, right? It could start off with just trying to avoid the dryer, and then turn into air snaps, and then turn into paws, shoving you away, and then turning into I'm not even going to get in the tub, and then turning into I'm not even going to get into the room, and turning into I'm not getting out of the car. We've seen dogs that accelerate at that rate because they just decide, nope. I don't want to be in that situation again. We want to build good behavior. We want to build good experiences. We want to build good. We want things to be pleasant. So we're going to add pleasant when we can and find that little bit of something that we can work with. If you'd like more information, you can find me at Chrissy@happycritters.net, happycrittersdogtraining.com, or you can join the Facebook group, Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast, or the Facebook page, Creating Great Grooming Dogs. I really look forward to hearing from you.